Howdy y'all, this is Josh at firstgenoffroad.com, and if you watched my last video, you saw how I installed the Bilstein 5100 adjustable shocks on our first gen Sequoia here. And a subscriber named Haunt1000, who apparently doesn't live too far from here, and at some point we're planning to go four-wheeling, made a couple of really good comments in my last video. And the first thing he said was, Josh, don't forget to tell him about the diff drop. It'll save your CV boots and it'll save your tires. And the other thing he said was that tell him to get the Total Chaos 1-inch diff drop. And I think he's right on both accounts, Haunt1000. Those were great comments. Thanks for making them. Yeah, you know, the engineers at Toyota are pretty smart. So the angle, the factory angle of the CV boot that the engineers have decided on was where they wanted it to be. When we put a suspension lift on these trucks, even a small one, that changes the angle that the CV boots are working at, and that can put pressure on the CV boots. And so over time, the CV boots will start to leak, and you'll have to replace them. The other thing is that it makes the wheels want to tilt to the side a little bit, and you'll get uneven wear on your expensive tires. You'll have to replace them sooner rather than later. So to help remedy that, they have a diff drop. And what the diff drop does, it sits between the frame and the differential, and it helps to sort of drop the diff a little bit. In this case, it's going to be 1 inch, and that helps to restore that proper angle at the CV boots and won't wear them out as quickly, and also saves your tires as well. Total Chaos makes a great diff drop kit, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. This is the Total Chaos diff drop kit. Basically, it comes with 2 bolts, and these bolts are hardened steel. These things are not going to rust, they're not going to break, they're super good quality. It comes with some 1-inch spacers, and we'll show you that a little bit more. Comes with a washer and a nut, and then it comes with some really simple instructions. These are 1-page instructions only on one side. This whole project should take you about 30 minutes. And you know, there are lots of diff drop kits out there. There's some that you might find online that are a little bit cheaper, but you know, the difference between a really good quality one like this and a cheap one is only about 20 bucks. So I went ahead and got the quality one. And my general rule is, because we're taking these trucks out to remote areas where there's not a lot of cell service, and we're asking them to do things that are pretty tough oftentimes, you want the best quality that you can afford. And so I chose Total Chaos. It's a great diff drop kit. I put it on my website. It's for sale. You guys can go to the link and buy it if you'd like. But this same diff drop kit will also work for the 96 through 04 Tacoma, the 96 through 02 4Runner. It'll work on the 2000 through 06 Tundra, as well as the 2001 through 07 Sequoia. And the first step is to take the skid plate off. You're going to need a 12mm to get the skid plate off. You're going to need a 19mm wrench and socket to get the old bolt out. And if you're doing a Total Chaos diff drop kit, you're going to need a 22mm socket and wrench. Here are the bolts. This is the original bolt, right? You can see that the new Total Chaos bolt is about 1 inch longer or so. It's actually a stouter bolt. It's heavier. It's a heavy duty bolt. This is the washer that came off the truck, and we're going to reuse this. We're going to put it there. Step 1 is going to be take off this skid plate. We got a couple bolts just holding it on there. I'm missing one there, and there's a couple more in the back. I'll take those off and we'll talk about the next step. All right, so I got the skid plate off, and so now we're going under the truck, and what we want to do is take these 2 bolts off. There's one here and there's one there, and we want to drop the diff and put the spacer here in between the frame and this washer right here. So you want to drop it down about 1 inch, or a little more than 1 inch really, to slide the 1-inch spacer in. You got to put your jack right here, so you can slowly lower this diff, not too far, but so you can lower it down about 1 inch, and then you have room to put this spacer in. This takes a 19 millimeter. Okay, so now we have the old bolt out. I have one and then two. And the important thing to know here is that you gotta hang on to these washers. So these so it was up like this, we unbolted it. We're gonna get rid of this bolt, we're gonna get rid of this nut, but we're gonna hang on to this washer. We're gonna replace those with the new ones on the diff kit that we have from Total Chaos. So we're gonna hang on to this washer and that washer. And what we'll do too, so again, out here and out here, we're gonna lower it down to where we get a little space between the frame and the diff. We already have a little bit of space here. We're gonna try and get a little bit more. So here we go. We'll just try and lower our jack just a little bit. There we go. That might do it. We'll see. All right. So we have our new bolt with our washer. Okay, so now we have our spacers in and we have our bolts in, we have our nuts hand tightened. We're going to try and lift the diff back up and just tighten these down as much as we can. We're going to torque these to 100 pounds, and that's on both sides. So here and here, and again we have the spacer. Let's see if we can see that spacer in right there. So okay, so you guys probably all know that you should always torque from the nut side. Of course, I can't fit my torque wrench up here, so I'm just doing my best. And that is tight. That's not going anywhere. And we'll just make sure that it's torqued on the other side as well. And that is not going anywhere. Okay. Okay, so now we have the new diff drop installed. Here's the new bolt. We kept the same washer. Here's the spacer, and the bolt goes all the way through, and we have a new nut and washer on top there. And we have this, and we have the same thing on the other side. So after messing around with that skid plate for probably longer than I should have, I realized that after you put this diff drop on, it makes this factory bolt about, I don't know, probably a 1/4 inch too short. So I messed with it for a long time. I couldn't quite get it to reach. And so I thought about 3 options in my head. Option 1 was to ditch the skid plate, but I didn't want to do that. I want to keep it. Option 2 would be to cut the skid plate where the new bolts were rubbing and bolt it all back together again, but I didn't want to cut it, and I don't want to have to paint it, I don't have to worry about rust and all of that. So option 3 is to go to a place like Fastenal and get a slightly longer bolt. And so I'm going to replace this with this. There's 2 of them, and I might put a washer on the other side to take up any slack if there's any space. I don't think there will be. It's so close. I mean, this almost fits, but it's not quite going to do it, so I'm going to have to switch to this. So the good thing about me having to replace those bolts is that I was missing one here. So now I can use one of the old ones and replace that one. I guess that's good logic, I don't know. Then we have a hurricane in the Gulf, and it's supposed to hit Corpus Christi, which means that it's gonna rain a ton here. So I'm gonna try and finish this before it starts to rain. There we go. Well, let's see. Well, those aren't 12 mil, are they? So my new bolts are 13 mil. That's exciting. There's a little gap that's leaving, and I didn't. So we're going to replace that. Okay. So here we are under the truck, and we're putting the skid plate back on. And so this is about as high as the skid plate can go before the bottom of the skid plate hits the new drop kit that we just put on. So you can put this bolt in, and you can see that there's going to be a little space, probably a 1/2 inch gap there. And we can't leave it that way, so we're going to put a spacer in. And you know, you could put any kind of spacer in. You could use a set of washers. What I'm going to do is just use the old bolt that came off of the old that I replaced with this new drop kit. So we'll just stick that in there and use that as a spacer. And that's going to work out just great. So now I've got that spacer in. I'll just begin by hand tightening, and then I'll tighten it down all the way. And we'll just tighten that down until it's nice and snug. Alright, so I guess that's it. We got the diff drop installed, we got the skid plate back installed, we got the diff drop installed, we got the skid plate installed. I ended up having to put a new set of bolts on the back with some spacers, but I think it worked out great. I hope this video series gives you guys a chance to see how the mods look. If you like these parts, you can purchase them on my website. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and you'll get every video I do. And I'll see you out there. Thanks, guys. Bye.